what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. And if you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, while I set up for the first live debate today, I'm going to pass over to the panel as there is Slick, James, Johnson and Paul in there, so I'll raise the mic on him and hopefully their dulcet tones will keep you entertained while I set up for the live show. Got the pre-show running now, guys, just so you're aware.
Sounds good.
Act natural.
Define natural.
In other words, start a conversation.
Really, I shouldn't have told you that I'd started the pre-show, and then you'd probably be chatting away a lot more comfortably. But there we go.
No, actually, we were just being quiet anyway because we felt it was kind of early, so we weren't saying much.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of out with my daughter today at a little place called the Muse. So she's playing, and there's some background noise, so I'm trying to keep it down. And it's even worse here than it might be at my house typically. So.
Okay, well, fair warned. Thank you.
Hey, I did. Did you see Patricia Steer's show yesterday?
I did. Very good that it was. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Did you see in the chat where somebody had said they said because Bob was on there and they said, "Hey Bob, I'll be glad when Globebusters comes back on because I'm sick of this Ball Busters, right?" So I replied to him and I said, well, Ball Busters is not meant to replace Globebusters, so you don't have to get all bent up. And Bob replied to me and said, "As if it ever could." Right.
Well, I agree with him in many respects. It's not designed to, and yeah, it couldn't possibly replace Globebusters. It's not Globebusters. It's not trying to be Globebusters. It's deliberately titled because it fills a vacancy where Globebusters was and is not. So, yeah, obviously, it's there to fill a vacancy. But are we trying to completely impersonate them? No, we're not them.
Right. And that's the point that I was trying to make to the guy. So, for Bob to come and, that remark was really unnecessary, but it was okay. I took it in stride and I said, well, I don't know if I would want to challenge that. I may have been out of line for saying that, but that was my natural response to him piping up like that. So anyway, I kind of wanted to take advantage of the situation and let him know what Ball Busters was all about. So I wrote another chat and I said, the only reason Ball Busters came about was to let people know what science is and science isn't, so that people wouldn't be under this delusional idea that the earth is rotating 15 degrees. And that's when he started. So now we're going back and forth a couple times. And that's when I asked him about, because I always wanted to know about him being mic'd, whether he was aware of that or not, because that would always make the difference in my mind what was going on. So I kind of brought it up. I said, hey, by the way, I think that you were mic'd when you guys were at that, meetup, because there's no way that you could have gotten your voice isolated with that crowd. And he said, no S, Sherlock. So that told me right there, he knew he was mic'd up. Now, if you know you're mic'd up and you say something like that, there's only a couple things that could cause you to do that. Either you did it purposely. You know what I mean? Because whenever you want to keep a secret and you don't want anybody to know about it, the last thing you do is talk about a secret while you're videotaped. So that just told me a lot about what might be going on. It's one of those things where you don't want to pass judgment on situations, but when you analyze it, that's the same thing a sellout would do. A sellout would make a move like that. You know what I mean? Tell the secret when they're knowing they're being recorded. If you were really working for the other side, that's the exact move that a person would make. So, and the way he's acting and all funny, there's just something weird here. I don't mean to ramble on.
Yeah, I think you're being a bit conspiratorial. I mean, you can't speak to motive. You don't know what's going through people's minds when they do things. Maybe, you can only speculate, right? So maybe he just forgot he was mic'd. Maybe, having worked in production, it's very easy to forget that you're mic'd. In other words,
Right,
unless someone explicitly says, right, you're now going to do a piece to camera about X, people forget. They don't appreciate that they're recording the entire time and that there might be a camera that's not in front of you, that's pointing at you, and you're just not aware of it. And I think in that case, he just got caught out. So I feel quite sorry for him in that regard. Yes, obviously you're not going to be unaware that you're mic'd, but ultimately you do just forget if you've been mic'd for 3 hours or something. You're going to be chatting at some point, and yeah, they've caught something on tape that perhaps Bob would have preferred wasn't caught on tape. But to be perfectly honest, again, speaking to motivation, who cares? All I'm interested in is pointing out that where Bob stated this is a problem, it isn't. It's not scientific proof of anything. The fact that on the Netflix he's declaring that they're researching whether or not Earth spins and now it's flip-flop to ether rotation is like, doesn't that say it all? If you can change the hypothesis after the fact, then ultimately speaking, it's meaningless. And that was kind of all I'm interested in, people being aware that, number one, it doesn't prove anything. Number two, if it is asserted as proof, then you can debunk it based on a good understanding of the Coriolis effect. And number three, going forward, understanding how this has ended up on Netflix being used as a proof of globe rotation is to understand the deception, the how of the deception. How have we been convinced by pseudoscientists that we live on a spinning ball in a vacuum in the first instance? And it's by hijacking that method that was asserted by Bob, science, and the scientific method. Well, that's empirical, and it's useful to assert that you have it if you're trying to prove something. Well, unfortunately, the pseudoscientists have led us down the path where we understand from the assertions of science that we live on a spinning ball flying through space. Well, that's easily undone if you understand that there is no adherence to that empirical method. It is just a declaration based on an observation of either a claimed natural phenomena, an actual natural phenomena that you cannot establish the cause for, or a man-made device. So this is the bit that I'm interested in, not Bob's motivation. Trojan horse, insider, it's all bollocks. I couldn't care less. Do you know what I mean? Same goes for Eric DeBay, Matt Powerland, anybody people accuse of being shills. I don't care. I couldn't care less about their motivation. I'm never going to know their motivation unless they explicitly tell me. And all I can speak to is the credibility of their assertions. Are they right or wrong in their assertions? If they are, why are they? If they aren't, why aren't they? And that's it. As for motivation, seriously, who cares? What if you figured out, let's say we extrapolate what you've said, Slick. So we take what you've said as read and go, okay, so he's an insider and he's actually here to do what? Jeopardise the progress of this fabled entity known as Flat Earth? Yeah, doesn't care what Bob says, doesn't care what's published on Netflix, doesn't care what I say. It is just obviously and observably flat. That's never going to change. Whether or not people realise it, in many instances, who cares? People are entitled to their beliefs, right? The people who do come on here and assert that they've got a ball belief, it's like, okay, good for you. So what difference does it really make in terms of people's motivation? The truth is the truth, right?
Right. And I understand your position. And one thing that I want to make clear is that what I'm doing here and what I'm stating has no relation to you. In other words, I don't want this to reflect on you because this is just me. And like I said, the reason that I did what I did was because for my own knowledge, I needed to know what was going on so that I could basically evaluate it. And the reason I'm taking a personal interest in it is because I heard through the grapevine that he called the people on your show losers. And I don't really take too kindly to that. So when somebody does that, I'm just one of those kind of people that would kind of respond. I kind of have I won't say it, talk about my background, but I don't usually take that kind of stuff too lightly. So that's why it became personal to me when that happened. And the thing is about as far as him forgetting he was mic'd, then I don't expect him to come back with no S Sherlock. See, that wouldn't be a response. I would expect him to say, you know what, hey, I forgot I was mic'd. But when he made that statement, no S Sherlock, that's telling me I knew I was mic'd. I was totally aware of it. See, so that's why I'm gathering that perspective.
Just pride. If you make a blunder like that and you're wearing a mic, which is the lesser of two evils, say, yeah, I absolutely intended to say it. I knew I was mic'd, because it seems worse than saying, yeah, I completely forgot. They caught me out completely with my pants down. Which is worse? Which would you say is the lesser of two evils?
Well, I would have expected him to be honest. Am I echoing?
No, you're fine. Well, I can't hear you
Yeah.
echoing. I mean, yeah, but in that moment...
In other words...
How do you... Maybe he doesn't even remember it, because it is difficult. I've been on enough productions to know that it's really hard to keep track of what happens when. You know, obviously it's on film, so he's going to know precisely when, but, you know, within the moment that it happens, you just, you know,
Right.
You're not thinking, am I mic'd or am I not mic'd? Should I be careful with these words? I mean, there's a whole episode of a show called Yes, Prime Minister, and it's about I think it might even be Yes Minister. There's two. It doesn't matter. Either Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister. There's a scene in the older version of it from, I think, the 80s, where the permanent secretary to the minister goes on BBC Radio 2 to talk about some of the policies that they're going to be holding. And after the interview, he talks really candidly. It was about unemployment. And he was like saying, oh, you should just cut job benefit, cut the dole by X amount, and you'd have people back in work in no time. Just something deeply inappropriate. But he's saying it in a radio studio after the interview's finished. So in other words, the interviewer says, thank you very much for your time, Permanent Secretary. I've been blah, blah, blah. And as far as the Permanent Secretary is concerned, that's the end of the recording. Now, after the fact, he goes to the minister, explains the problem he's now got because this radio's holding it over his head, right? This awful after the fact, off the record interview. And the minister says to him, look, treat every mic as an open mic. Now, in this instance, it's literally a fuzzy mic in a studio right in front of him, and he still manages to say the wrong thing because he thinks it's a switched off mic, right? Well, in the case of a radio mic, they very impersonal. I think that's the right word. You know, they're suddenly tucking something into your person when they mic you up and wrapping a wire around your body. So it's very impersonal, right? And once that's been done and that uncomfortable business is done to it, and you've got this mic on you, eventually you forget about it. You know, that's just a natural reaction. So I would say it's an embarrassment. Now, that's not because I'm trying to twist the knife in any way. I'm just saying that if something like that happens, and it has, you've got to then accept that you've either made a bit of a blunder because you've not treated a mic that's literally on your person as a live mic, or accept that, like you're now speculating about, that he intentionally let this information out for whatever reason, which also you wouldn't know the motivation for. So, you know, it's just an unfortunate scenario on a production. That's just the way I see it. But I've given it this much detail because I want to draw more. Want to draw you away from it by not, giving it the hand wave dismissal. Mean you'll ponder on it more, and it's not really that relevant because even what he said in that instance is factually incorrect. If this gets out, it's a big problem. I can't even remember I'm paraphrasing, but it's not a big problem. That's my point. It's not a big problem because it's not scientific proof of anything. So it's not a problem like Bob thinks it was or thought it was, and that's kind of where I came in this whole thing, which is to say that this isn't a problem if only you realised that it wasn't scientifically proving anything, you'd appreciate that it's not proving their case. And your words where you assert that it's proving their case, in this case, you know, the gyro, and in relation to a hypothesis that's about Earth turn on Netflix, you know, isn't defeated by you completely altering the hypothesis and saying, no, not Earth turn, ether rotation. You know, it doesn't change the fact that it isn't proving either. And that's all I'm interested in getting across to the audience. You know, because like I said earlier, in so understanding, you appreciate how you've been deceived in many different areas. You know, I think Paul yesterday was telling us about vaccines where they're essentially... Are you excited about that, Eleanor? What are you watching? He was talking about vaccines and saying they're asking for the same standards we are. Well, give us the scientific proof of what you claim, and then I might take you seriously, right? Well, we're now doing the same with the globe heads, and hopefully there won't be a factional split in the community. Hey, Earth Flattener. Whereby we have one side that wants pseudoscience and declaration, and the other side wants real science and actual proof. You know, I hope that doesn't happen, and we end up with a unified understanding of what is and isn't proof of things, and how something that does prove something, a very narrow method called the scientific method, applicable to the natural world, in this instance flat Earth, is a bastardization in pseudoscience. What we have now called science, and it isn't. So that's the main focus. And I don't think in that little ramble I mentioned Bob once, right? Because there isn't any necessity to.
No, I understand your point, but the point that I want to clarify is that, see, you and I come from two different viewpoints. See, so I totally respect your viewpoint, but I have my own. And the part that really bugs me is that if you slipped up and you made a mistake, well, when somebody asks you about it, you don't say, no S, Sherlock, because that's saying to me that I knew what I was doing. It was deliberate. What he should have said was, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't realize the mic was on. Because, Nathan, if that was you, if I asked you, I was like, if I said, Nathan, you know you were mic'd up, didn't you? And if you told me no S, Sherlock, that would have been telling me that you knew that you were Mike. But if you would have said, well, I didn't realize it, then I would have taken it that way. See, so that tells me a lot. And for me, that means a lot, because I listen to people, and that's how I understand where people are coming from by the words they speak. So it's not as easy for me to just blow it off like it's nothing, because to me, it's a lot more than that. But that's just me. That's why I want to reflect that. This has nothing to do with the flat earth side, and it doesn't reflect on you because I'm saying it on your show. I'm just expressing a personal opinion.
You keep saying it personally, him, how he's behaving, people, how they talk, how they mean, etc., etc. This is quite literally personal. So I get it, and you're just expressing your personal views about a person. Me, I'm not interested. No offence, Nick. I'm much, much more interested in the actual words that are being said. You know, if a concern is expressed about something that may look bad, and it's completely benign and irrelevant to anything we state, assert, or allege we can prove, I want that to be the main focus. And that's exactly all I've done so far. You know, I mean, Bob and I have got a back and forth at the moment on Skype, and, you know, there's plenty of ad hominems and personal attacks that I could detail here, but it's just not relevant. You know, it doesn't help my cause. My cause being precisely what I've asserted on Globebusters to them personally. So that hasn't changed. It won't ever change. That message has been drummed to the audience for about 6 months, and it's nothing personal. You know, I'm going to try and cut down on the ad hominems I add, just because I've got a justification when someone says something stupid to call them a moron or a retard based on their stupidity or declaration of something idiotic. I'm going to try and avoid that. You know, even though it isn't technically an ad hom, they have actually demonstrated their retardation in what they assert. It's still perceived by some as ad hominem. So, you know, I'm going to try and avoid that also. In other words, try and keep it on point. I'm sure that will, you know, I'll get held to account for it all the bloody time. So it's like, well, why bother? I don't need to make it personal. You know, when someone makes a stupid statement, I don't need to point out how stupid they are for making it. I can just point out how stupid the statement is, right?
Oh, yes, I agree 100%.
I have an idea for ball busters. If I don't know what you guys have thought about it, or you thought about it, Nathan, but maybe making it like if anybody comes out with some kind of experiment, come out with some kind of proof or something, whatever, use ball busters to kind of a meme to kind of break it down to see, if it's something that's viable or not, and walk through that process. You know what I mean? That might be something to consider. Now, this is the debate format. That could be more of analyzing format, analyzing what's going on, something to that effect. Even it could be a Goldberg side or Baller side.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I've got to bust people's balls on this, unfortunately, which is why the name's apt. And, yesterday I was watching a Math Powerland stream. He's talking about 2 boats, 1 globe, or something like that. I can't remember the name of his GoFundMe campaign. He's asking for an absolutely exorbitant amount of money to do an Antarctic. I think it's a polar circumnavigation in both directions on the presupposed sphere. Now, while I could put the argument apart based on his presupposition that the journey will take place on a sphere, that's not really my issue with it. Great, people obviously believe they live on a sphere, so that's how you'll set it out in terms of the methodology to attract a wider audience. So I get it. But the issue I take with Math Powerland's current assertions is his statement that it's an adherence to the scientific method, and it absolutely in no way is. So, I contributed a very small donation to his GoFundMe purely so I could leave a comment on the GoFundMe page, which is to say, please don't use scientific vernacular to grease the skids of your assertions based on this expedition or measurement. It's not scientific in the slightest. You're not establishing the cause and effect. You've not got a variable that you can manipulate to prove cause. You've not got an observed phenomena. You've got a presupposition of a model that you're going to explore. That's what you've got. Well, that's not science. Those sorts of assertions where an expedition or measurement is claimed to be some sort of scientific exploration when it's actually, exactly as stated, a presuppositional model that's going to be explored. This isn't bloody science, it's an outrage. That's what we're fighting against when it's, at least on the debate, globe Earth versus flat Earth, right? That's what we're fighting. Models are pseudoscience. So to assert that you're exploring their model and trying to pull it apart and claim that that's science is like, my God, sorry, math, you're going to get kicked in the balls too, I'm afraid. It's not that I want to attack Bob, I don't want to attack math. In many ways I idolise math because he's the guy who introduced flat Earth to me. But on the same token, it's like, well, you're now a detriment to this cause, math. If you're going to assert that you've got an adherence to the scientific method in this measurement, if that's what you want to call it, fine. Call it a measurement. If you want to call it an expedition, fine. Just don't call it an adherence to the scientific method.
One of the things that bothers me is that every time I talk to a glober, I have to defend what Bob did. Now, the problem I have with that is while I'm trying to defend what Bob did, I got him insulting me at the same time. See, so that's why you and I kind of feel a little bit differently about this. And I just want to make that clear. I understand your position, but I have my own position and we see it differently, but I respect your opinion.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. And if you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Slick James Johnson, Paul, Flatten Earth, and Arwin. Good to have you all. Oh, also Eben Kim. How you doing?
Hello.
And me.
Hi, how's it going? Hello, 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 what ho?
Good
Hello,
morning.
hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Good to have you all. Any signs of curvature?
No signs.
Nope.
Nada.
What
No.
about axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
Nothing happening.
Nope.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
The distance to the sun is where it's supposed to be for your experience. And the reason that I say that is because there's a couple of people that don't understand that, and I'd like to discuss it from time to time.
Yeah, go ahead, do it now.
Well, Arwin had said yesterday that I was partly correct, and I wanted him to elaborate on the rest of it.
I was like, what? What now?
Remember
Sorry,
yesterday?
I was on the break.
That's all right. We could discuss it later.
No worries, we'll rattle through the rest of the housekeeping. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity? Scientific evidence
No.
thereof, Travis?
No.
Aberration.
No signs.
Any evidence of a
Science
self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That's worth about as much as the gravity.
No?
So there's
about
evidence
evidence?
of lava, but not that much.
Lava? You think that's evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, Arwin? Lava?
Would be a very small core.
Or a very long tunnel?
Right. Could be. Still
Any-
very curious as to what that actually is, though. But yeah, molten iron core, nah.
Any evidence that we can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
No.
Really quickly, Tim Osmond was making a point about that, and he said that atmospheric pressure is different than gas pressure. And when I heard that, I was like, wow. But no.
No, fair enough. Speaking of Tim Osmond, any evidence of the presuppositional R value? Earth radius?
No.
I
Nothing,
think it's still where you left it, Nathan.
the
Yeah,
claim
he pulls
is
it out from time to time. I think that concludes the housekeeping. Excellent stuff, gentlemen.
So I
Yeah,
got something to ask.
Go ahead, Eben.
So I listened to Mark Passio. If you don't know who Mark Passio is, he's someone who's in the, I guess, truther community, alongside Max Egan and a couple of the older truth movement people. They don't really say that the Earth is flat. They've done their research. At least Mark Passio says he's done his research, and no, he doesn't think the Earth is flat. He thinks it's a like a psyop from the CIA and the Tavistock Institute. Just like to know what you guys think about that claim.
It's basically P. Mars's argument that it's a psyop.
It's a very weird psyop. If the truth is a psyop, then yeah.
It's just
It's all we
something
discussed,
to
though,
throw
isn't it,
you
on this
off-
show, so-
off- It's just something to throw you off the trail.
Maybe they originally intended to just destabilize things with it. They didn't really think of, what would come out of it.
But the irony is that it's actually the other way around, isn't it? You know, the globe Earth is a psychological operation. It only exists in your mind. It's not real. We don't live on a model. The heliocentric model is reified by people because they've been brainwashed into believing they live on a model. We don't.
Yeah, whenever I try.
Religion.
I guess we would have to ask, what's the evidence that it is a psyop? What would be the standard of evidence that we would come down on and say, okay, this is obviously something that was put out as disinformation. It's not true. Right?
Well, then you have to go into the technicalities of it.
Well, yeah, but you have,
All
if you
their
have
mistakes, and there are plenty.
sure, but if you have someone like Mark Passio saying that it's a psyop, if I was having a discussion with him, I would say, "Where's your evidence? What is it that you're basing this on? A, B, C, D, and E? Show me your evidence. I know this is false information. I know this. Otherwise, it's just you're just hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You're just shutting down your senses."
Right, the same applies to the conspiratards on this side of the argument who claim we've got paid chills and Trojan horses and people with terrible motivations. It's like, where's your evidence?
Was that a veiled shot at me?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
I thought you said bad. I thought it sounded like you said poor microphones, and that right then the wind was blowing at my mic, so I thought you were just being tongue in cheek.
No. What I'm saying is, I mean, this is. I haven't paid any attention to this sort of stuff. I'm certain it still goes on. In fact, I know it still goes on. I'm just not going to name who's doing it. But there's certain people that will accuse people within the flat earth movement, if you want to call it that. I'm sure that'll get me grief. Either way, whatever you want to call the reified entity that is flat earthism, the people in that community get described as shills. This person's here to move the movement in a certain direction. Almost said steer the movement, but that would imply I was talking about Patricia, and I'm not. But yeah, my point is that people will label others as shills, and it's like, well, what's your evidence for that? What have you got that proves that person's paid by MI6, CIA, MI5, whatever, KGB?
Calling a flat Earth a movement is kind of asinine, considering flat Earth is stationary.
Well, the whole thing too about when you start talking about movements, now you're starting to talk about organizations, and organizations have leaders. Then what ends up happening is you have a certain group of people who are either appointed or self-appointed leaders. And then that's when you have a whole thing going, and people expect you to be on the same wagon as the leaders. So if you have your own place and your own voice, they don't understand that, because it's not like the globe, where the globe is an established thing and everybody's on the same page. They're trying to make flat earth the same thing, where everybody's on the same page and we all follow this particular group of
No,
leaders.
there's no leaders. There's just champions, and the champions will be championed as long as they say things that a majority of people agree upon. Who's making that noise?
That's kind of like the same thing. Champions, leaders. See, that's
No,
kind
it's
of
not the same. A leader
What's
makes actual decisions, but yeah, he has the responsibility. A champion is just being the voice that is echoed widely.
I agree with you both in a way. I take it as someone setting themselves up, or an organization setting someone up as a representative. Like we don't need a representative of truth. Truth speaks for itself. We don't need a representative of God. God can speak for themselves. We don't need a representative of flat Earth. The flat Earth speaks for itself. Now,
exactly.
anyone else that's trying to get people convinced, they need a representative, obviously. And we've got that with science and scientism. And we've got that with religion, different religions. We've got that with governments and corporations and globe Earth model. All the representatives are there, but the truth speaks for itself.
I wanted to jump in. By the way, Arwen, I caught your little stationary and flat Earth movement. I got that.
Hey,
You
Tommy.
gotta. Oh look, we got fresh meat.
We got a goblin. How are you boys? You alright?
Hey, Tommy. Good to have you.
So,
Out to Cynical Skeptic for the super chat. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much indeed.
Hey Tommy,
what's up, man? You alright?
you in?
Well, this is a great conversation. So, Tommy, tell me, do you understand how the Coriolis effect works?
Not that well to argue it now, but I kind of understand. Like, if you're moving, you throw something up in the air. Like you expect like the helicopter to go up, and as the Earth's rotating, basically the helicopter should change position. Because it doesn't, therefore the Earth's not rotating.
Wow, that was extremely concise. Yes, that would be my argument in a nutshell.
Yeah, I used to think that when I was younger. I used to think like, how come you can't go in a plane and travel somewhere quicker, or how come I can't see the curve in the plane, or there's a load of things I used to think when I was younger, which
Those are the things that you need to hold on to because those are common sense, logical, and it's simple.
So you think that the air layer moves with the rotation of the Earth?
Apparently it does, yeah. Apparently it's like a big...
Apparently?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Say that again, Jimmy. Tommy, my bad.
Jimmy, Tommy, yeah. Well, apparently the whole thing moves together because of gravity. Like it's all kind of, how can I say it? The atmosphere and the ground are kind of like in a lock together.
Okay.
So to speak.
In lockstep. So there's no Coriolis effect then?
Not when it comes to the Earth, no. But I think my mate goes to Texas a lot, and the flight to Texas is always longer than the flight back, and I think that's due to Coriolis effect. But I ain't.
So then there is Coriolis effect.
I'm not that schooled on it to really give you a good argument with it.
You can't have two things at the same time. Either there is a Coriolis effect, and the air layer moves separately from the Earth's rotation, the assumed rotation, or it moves with it, and then there is no Coriolis effect. There will be no delayed planes in specific directions. There will be no such thing, because the air is in relation to the Earth stationary.
I think maybe the only Coriolis that I can actually argue would be the spaceships that launch that go to land, and when they enter the atmosphere, the Earth's rotating so fast that they have to time it correctly in order to get into the atmosphere at the right time. Otherwise, they'll just miss their destination by like 300 miles, depending within like 2 minute window.
Fast? Really?
Well, compared to in relation as they enter the atmosphere.
We're still talking at cross purposes. That's why I brought up the conversation.
Yeah.
So, as Arwen is correctly identified for you, Tommy, there's either a Coriolis effect in play with the rotating Earth, as asserted by your priests. According to heliocentric priests, there is a Coriolis effect. So if that is the case, then for there to be a Coriolis effect, there must be two separate reference frames with one rotating underneath the other, as opposed to lockstep atmosphere. If that was the case, there would be no Coriolis effect. So before we go any further, which do you think it is?
I'd say there was no Coriolis effect, and the reason that the planes go back faster is because of slipstreams in the air. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, we would agree with you. The problem being that if you are to assert there is no Coriolis effect, then you are essentially saying that the Foucault pendulum and the gyroscopes used to assert that the Earth is rotating are just pseudoscience nonsense, Tommy. Because in order for those... I'm nearly done.
Sorry.
In order for those pieces of equipment to prove that the Earth rotates underneath in a separate reference frame, they are ipso facto utilising the Coriolis effect, which you are now saying isn't there. So the Foucault pendulum and the Foucault gyroscope are just what? Nonsense?
The way I determined the Earth rotating isn't through them experiments that you said. I mean, you look up at the stars, you can see that they're moving, right? If you do a time lapse of the stars, and that leads me to know that it's rather the stars moving or the Earth's moving, or it could be both. So then I do other observations to conclude which one would be moving, and that's what leads me to determine that it's the Earth that's moving and not the stars. But these experiments, they probably have a different reason for why they can detect it and why we don't see the effects upon planes and helicopters. There's probably different reasons, which as I said, I'm very vague on this subject, so it's very difficult for me to argue from ignorance.
No, that's fine. I'm taking you by the hand and explaining it to you. which is to say that for those demonstrations, they're not experiments, absolutely not establishing the cause of any effect. They are claimed to be a demonstration of an effect. In this instance, Coriolis effect, 2 separate reference frames. So in order for the Foucault pendulum or gyroscope to demonstrate that the Earth rotates underneath. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? Danielle, can you hear us? No, someone boot Danielle out of the back chat.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Thank you, Arvin. In order for those demonstrations of the effect to be a demonstration of the effect, there must be a Coriolis effect. You understand that, Tommy? As asserted by the heliocentric priests.
Yeah. And you can look at my screen, and Nathan, you can present it once again. I've shown it many times.
Well, like I said, I mean, these experiments, I'd have to look into them myself and see where the errors are, but I haven't looked into this enough in order to give you a strong argument on it.
It's really easy to explain. So the Foucault pendulum swings as a pendulum would, back and forth.
Oh, I've seen that with the ink on the floor, and it does like over a long period of time. If you do it long enough, it will create an angle. Then you can use the angle to determine what part of latitude and longitude you are on the Earth. Is that the one?
Right. So the pendulum only swings back and forth only. You understand that first principle?
Yeah.
It just has a fixed back and forth motion. However, because the Earth rotates underneath, you see an apparent deflection. It looks like it's moving, but it is in fact the second reference frame rotating underneath the fixed pendulum, moving back and forth only. Hello, Danielle. Can you say hello?
Yeah, but
it's a repeat suck.
But don't you? But that pendulum ends up creating an angle, right? When you draw the tracking of that pendulum, you know, if you put it indoors, there's no wind, or if you make it as independent as you can, and you make the string long enough as it is, and you let it go from a straight fixed line, after a long period of time, that will tilt, right? And that kind of shows you the axis you're on.
No. I'm trying to explain it to you. The pendulum swings back and forth, just back and forth, but you see an apparent deviation because you have a second reference frame that rotates underneath. So you see the apparent deflection. It's not actually moving, it's still just going back and forth in its reference frame. But because the Earth rotates underneath, you see an apparent deflection. Do you understand now?
Well, that proves that it's moving, right?
So it proves that we have 2 separate reference frames, does it?
Yeah.
So you have the Earth rotating underneath the helicopter then? Because that's what it's so it's not demonstrating that? That's what it's claimed to be demonstrating. You just didn't understand it, Tommy.
I see what you mean. The way it goes, one works one way, it doesn't work the other way. And why is that?
Well, if the Earth rotates underneath a gyroscope, or if the Earth rotates underneath a pendulum, then the Earth rotates underneath a helicopter and an aeroplane and anything in that second reference frame.
Okay.
Well, no, because that's not okay. It doesn't happen, Tommy. Those devices assert that we have 2 reference frames. That's what they're demonstrating. But as you rightly point out at the beginning, we don't have 2 separate reference frames. Hello, Carlos. How you doing?
The pendulum, that takes a long period of time.
Hold on a second, Tommy. Hold on. Hey, Carlos, can you hear us? Carlos, hello.
You're muted. Please unmute.
It's probably just someone just sniping it.
Okay, I'll kick him. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone.
So the devices claim we have 2 reference frames, and yet we don't see the effects of that, do we, Tommy?
Well, the pendulum takes a long period of time, doesn't it? It's very, very, very subtle. The helicopter, it's actually like it's not swinging from a fixed point that's fixed to the earth. It's kind of independent. You know what I mean? It's flying. Whereas the pendulum is hung from the ceiling, which is also kind of connected to the ground. And probably will play a role in that. Someone's microphone's blowing.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
The
So
demonstration. The point of the demonstration is to demonstrate that the Earth rotates underneath the separate reference frame of the gyro or the pendulum. That is the point.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think the difference is the pendulum is hanging from the roof. When the roof is connected to the building's connected to the ground. But the helicopter is flying and it's actually trying to dissipate air underneath it, and it's kind of a different sort of mechanic. Do you know what I mean? So that's related to the ground and it's fixed to the ground and the pendulum over a long period of time with such subtle changes, which will give it the movement, which gives you. But the helicopter is completely different. You know, it's in a different situation. It's got the air affecting on it. It's got it's got a lot of different forces acting upon it. Whereas that's a bit more closed off. As I said, this is me talking from just intuition. I haven't got a clue. I haven't looked into it enough in order to give you a concrete answer to it. But I'm sure there's a reason for it, which I haven't yet discovered. That's my answer.
No,
really.
Tommy. No, there is no reason for it. It is simply a contradiction. If the devices demonstrate that you have two separate reference frames, and that is precisely what they are designed to demonstrate, then ipso facto, you do have two reference frames, and it would absolutely affect the helicopter as the Earth rotated underneath, as demonstrated by the pendulum.
If you say so.
So it's just a contradiction.
No, it's just, as I said, I need to look into it further in order to give you a good answer, but I haven't. So I just would say that, yeah, what you're saying sounds good. But yeah, again, I need to look into it more to see if there's something that you've missed.
It's not complicated. Coriolis effect is achieved with two separate reference frames. It is asserted that those devices demonstrate precisely that. It is absolutely asserted that we have Coriolis effect on a rotating Earth, and we don't. That's just fact. You pointed it out immediately when you very succinctly summarised our position. If you take off into said second reference frame and the Earth rotates underneath, then you have drastically reduced air time. Or you can go up in a helicopter and just let the land come to you. But those things don't happen, even though it is absolutely asserted that we do have Coriolis effect. And it is asserted by those devices.
I just don't think they work the way that you're expecting them to.
What? Like Coriolis effect? Coriolis effect is very simple. That is what is being demonstrated. Two reference frames. Man holds ball on roundabout. Throws ball. Ball goes in straight line, but from your position, because you rotate underneath the ball, like you rotating underneath the pendulum, you see an apparent deflection of the ball. Like the pendulum, the ball goes in a straight line. Like the pendulum goes back and forth in a straight line. But because the roundabout and because the Earth rotates underneath, you see an apparent deflection. Simple. It's Coriolis. Non-understanding of the Coriolis leads people to assert that there must be an explanation in the helicopter when it's very straightforward. It is asserted that the ball Earth fantasy model that you think you live on, Tommy, has a Coriolis effect. It just doesn't.
Okay, Nathan. I think the pendulum takes a long period of time in order to change its position. So, I don't think it's like something that you just fly up and then the Earth just moves away from you.
Sorry, why does it change position? It's only going back and forth, Tommy. Why would it change position if it's only going back and forth?
It changes its angle the way it goes back and forth.
Yeah, why?
Look at the line.
Yeah, why? Why would it change? It's
rotating.
not moving, Tommy. It's only going back and forth. So why on earth would something that's only going back and forth look like it's turning? Why would that be the case?
It doesn't just look like it, Nathan. It actually tracks a different path.
Yeah,
So
it's called, Tommy, it's called an apparent deflection. And it is because, for about the 5th time, maybe you can repeat after me, because the Earth rotates underneath.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know. And there's no surprise there.
Yeah, there is a surprise, because it doesn't. You can't take off in a plane and experience the Earth turn underneath. Do you get it?
Two different completely things.
Yeah, contradiction.
One that's
a contradiction.
That has no wind or no
two different things. Yeah, two different things. One says the Earth rotates underneath. The other categorically demonstrates that it doesn't rotate underneath. That's why it's a contradiction. Not waiting for your dumbass to explain. No, let's not ad hominem. Yeah, it's not waiting for you.
So I can't explain it.
It's not waiting for you to explain it. It is already explained. You do have Coriolis on a bullshit sphere Earth. That's a fact that just doesn't make sense because it isn't observable.
Well, you're not exactly a rational person to explain it to, so I'm pretty sure that you're probably the problem rather than the problem with the experiments that you've looked into.
The one you haven't got the vaguest idea about. The one that I've just explained 5 times. The one is actually very, very simple to understand. Do I need to explain it to you again? Because I am not incorrect in my assertions, Tommy. Considering you've declared your ignorance, I'm quite surprised at your arrogance that you've now taken, given that you've already declared you don't understand it. I do understand this, Tommy. I do understand it, and there is a contradiction. If the Earth rotates underneath the pendulum, then it rotates underneath planes. It just doesn't.
Okay, if you say so.
Not if I say so. It's a necessity for the Coriolis effect that you don't understand, and I've explained to you 6 times.
Yeah, I'm incapable of understanding. That's what it is.
Okay. So why are we still having this conversation?
Well, because I'm trying to. Every time I try to explain it, there's different things.
Try to explain? Sorry, you're not explaining anything, dumbass. I'm telling you. So every time you try and explain, I have to sit your ass down and tell you that you're not explaining anything from the position of ignorance you declared. I am. Shout out to Cynical Skeptic for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
If you're not willing to take in what I'm saying or hear me out...
You're not telling me anything, dumbass. You don't understand this. I'm not willing to take in anything you say. You've got nothing to say. You don't understand it.
Well, then ask somebody else about it.
Why? I do understand it, and I'm telling you. You just don't want to accept it, because there's a glaring contradiction with your religion.
I think there's certain things that come into play that you're not taking on board. You're making it simple as a pendulum inside a building isn't changing its trajectory. Like I'm trying to explain, over a long period of time, it does seem to change its angle. Regardless if you say it isn't.
Yeah. I'll say it again. I'll say it one last time, and then I'll let Arwin rip you a new one. Right. It changes direction. Tommy, shut up.
I heard what you said the first time.
Tommy, you don't know anything. You've declared that. And I'm going to tell you for a 7th time. It deviates from its back and forth motion because the Earth turns underneath.
Well done.
Yeah, but it doesn't, Tommy. Or it would rotate underneath the planes. That's the contradiction.
Well, there is planes that go back from Texas faster than they go there, and I think it's due to air slipstream. But
yeah, so not Coriolis then, dick brain. So yeah, total red herring, absolutely sod all to do with the subject matter at hand, which is Coriolis effect, Earth rotating underneath, which it does not do. That's the 8th time I've told you.
How are you going to learn if you don't listen?
Oh God! Can I
listen to what? You tell us about your ignorance.
Well, you don't want to argue about something I am fully educated on, then that's fine. Then just point out the ignorance. But I'm saying that doesn't categorically mean that the Earth doesn't have Coriolis effect just because the planes don't travel at faster speeds when they take off. It's a different experiment. It's a different way that things react. Everything's subject to its own situation.
Right.
So there's obviously things that you may have missed.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, look, there may be some kind of high winds. A phenomena that happens in the high altitude where wind streams just happen to be very in one direction and very fast. And yeah, maybe planes are using that. But that again is proof that it's probably not Coriolis effect. And you have to take into account every time either there is a Coriolis effect because the air layer is not stationary in relation to the Earth, or there is. And then it applies to everything in the normal air layer.
I've got
So which
so-
one is it? Which
I see
one
what
is
you
it?
mean. No, I'd
Does
say
it
that
occur?
is.
Does the Coriolis effect
Okay, are you
occur
gonna let me talk?
with all things on every layer, or does it not?
I think that in that experiment with the pendulum, you can detect it, but when you're expecting planes
So
to have
then
this,
you declare that it does.
oh my god, I can't get
Hey,
this.
look,
I can't get
then
to finish
you-
one
If
sentence.
you
So
say that the focal pendulum creates that, it applies, then that means that it applies to all things because it's either one way or the other. Either there is a Coriolis effect due to a different orientation of the air layer than the Earth itself, or there is not. So
no.
which one is it?
Some situations you will be able to
Hey,
detect it.
hold on
No.
one second.
Won't.
Sorry,
Well,
Owen. Hey, Dan, how you
well,
doing?
if you're not going to let me talk, how am I going to explain?
Hold on, I just
You
want to
already
say hello to our new
explained.
guest. Hey,
Oh.
Dan, can you hear us? Hello?
Dan, you're muted.
Yes, 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Well, yeah, as I was saying, if you're not going to let me respond to you, how can I get a chance to explain? If you don't like the words that are coming out of my mouth as soon as I talk, you go, no, no, no. Like, you ask me something, then allow me to talk and explain it.
No, but you're not answering.
I am trying to
I'm
answer, but you're
asking
just.
a very straightforward
Okay, here we
question.
go.
Yes or no?
all right, let's just let him
Yes.
answer right now.
Sometimes you'll be able to detect it depending on the situation, the apparatus, and the situation that it's in that you're trying to detect it with. And in other situations, it won't have that effect due to the situation being completely different. Now, a helicopter is completely different from a pendulum. Would you not agree with that?
No.
Or you would say they're the same. Okay, then a pendulum is the same as a helicopter.
Doesn't really matter.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't matter what kind of device it is, what it does.
So
Either
if I
the Coriolis effect applies to it or it does not.
So if I use a metal detector to find wood, it don't matter.
That's a total red herring.
Well, it's basically what you're saying that
No, that's not basically what I'm saying.
what it is.
It's a red
You're saying a
herring.
helicopter is the same as a pendulum.
It's a device. It's an object.
Okay, a helicopter
Which
and a
Coriolis
pendulum.
May I pose a
applies
question
on
and
the Earth.
interject? I wanted to butt in for like the last 20 minutes. Okay, so in 1851, we're talking about an observation of a Foucault pendulum from 1851. It's 2019. I like to play this little game called, all right, if I had all the resources in the world and I want to debunk flat Earth, I would and prove Coriolis effect. What I would do is I would go to North Pole, where you've got a fixed object in the sky called Polaris.
Yep.
I have a drone. There's the Aerovol Flex Rotator drone, Flex Rotor drone. I'm sorry. It's got 32 hours of flight time. It uses fuel, not batteries. Well, now we also have a 360-degree camera. Keep the one. You have a fixed point with Polaris. Keep that in front, in the center of that drone at all times, and just record for 24 hours. You're rotating on the tilt in the globe model. In 24 hours, whatever object on the ground, you've got a dummy of a person or a scarecrow, whatever it is. In 24 hours from that point of the drone, you should see that dummy basically do a spin in a 24-hour time frame, right? That would pretty much prove Coriolis effect. What do you say, Tommy?
I didn't say anything. Check.
I know. Would that prove Coriolis effect for you?
Well, what I kind of zoned out a bit. Check. But I would have I can see the stars are rotating, and I can see that it can be either be the sun or it can be the stuff up above us.
Don't even think about the stars. All you need to think about is one star called Polaris. It's fixed point, right?
Yeah.
It never moves.
Yeah.
And if you're on the North Pole, it definitely won't ever move. And all you do is you have that fixed star Polaris up above, and you've got on the ground a dummy facing
Look.
one way. Record for 24 hours straight, keeping that fixed point on the Polaris. That dummy on the ground, if you speed up the camera, in 24 hours time, it should rotate. It should do a full 360.
The way I look at it is that the Polaris might not be moving, but all the stars around it will be going clockwise.
You don't even have to look at the stars because they've already had time lapses with Polaris and the stars. What you're trying to find is the Coriolis effect. The body of the ground is rotating, right? Correct? The Earth is rotating. You're not looking at the stars because we're not trying to prove that the stars are rotating. We're trying to prove that the Earth is rotating. Correct?
You're going to let me finish my rebuttal or not?
No, I just want to know, is that correct? We're looking at the ground. We're not looking at the stars.
Right, well, we're looking at the ground. We're looking at Polaris. Polaris is not moving. Now what?
Yes, and we're looking at the ground to see if the ground is rotating. Correct.
We're trying to detect whether it's the ground. We're trying to detect whether it's the ground or the stars that are moving. That's what we're trying to do.
The ground is moving because you're trying to prove that the Earth is rotating.
No,
and not the stars that are rotating around Polaris.
Trying to determine which one of the two are moving. Well, I'll be trying to prove whether it's the stars moving or whether it's the Earth moving. That's what I'll be going around.
Yeah, Coriolis effect is with the Earth moving.
Okay, so
is Coriolis effect with the stars moving?
Something's moving, right? It's rather the stars are moving or the Earth's moving.
But what is Coriolis effect? Is it the stars moving or the Earth moving?
Coriolis is the Earth moving.
Okay, so we're trying to observe the Earth moved, right? That's the experiment. So why are you even looking at the stars? You're looking at Polaris because it's a fixed point that's outside the Earth.
Because you want to see.
When you've got that observed, you're trying to look at the Earth and see if it's rotating. So all you have to do is have that fixed point in Polaris, have a fixed point on the ground, and what you should see is that fixed point on the ground should do a 360-degree spin in 24 hours time.
You've had a lot of time to talk, and please don't cut me off when I respond. The stars, you watch the behavior of the star from the way that they move. You notice that they move in one direction, clockwise maybe. I can't remember which one of the two. When you're up closer to the north, you head down south, and the further south you do, then the stars tend to change their behavior. And as you get down the southern part, that things start to rotate in the opposite direction. Now you think about how that would work on a flat Earth. And then you think about how that would work.
You're deflecting again. So I'm not even talking about the stars rotating. Do you understand that?
Okay.
You understand that? Because that's why I asked you, is the Coriolis effect the stars rotating or the Earth rotating? And you said Earth rotating. So why are you still looking at the stars?
Looking at the stars to determine which is moving. You check the behavior of stuff and you can determine.
Yeah, but is the stars moving going to improve Coriolis effect on Earth?
Going to prove that the Earth's moving or the stars are moving, right? Yeah, looking up at the stars will prove which one of the two are moving.
Yeah, that's a different question. Sorry, what Eben's asking you is, does that prove Coriolis effect? So I suppose the question, just before we move on, I will pass back to you. I promise, Eben. Do you now understand what the Coriolis effect is, Tommy?
The Earth's moving, rotating.
Yeah, in a separate reference frame.
From what? Because the atmosphere itself that's around the Earth is also moving with it.
Yeah, don't try and answer it for me if you don't understand. I'll just tell you. So you have a roundabout.
I've already established this at the start.
Right, I've got 5 seconds. I let you have 30 seconds, right, of your misrepresentation of the stars, which is not Coriolis. So I'm now going to explain it to you. So you have a roundabout, like you get at the kids' playground. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Right, in your hand, while you sit on the outside edge of that roundabout, is a ball. Okay? As the roundabout spins, you hold the ball, and you and the ball rotate. However, when you throw the ball releases from your grasp and travels in a straight line.
Yeah, goes to space, yeah?
Pardon?
That would be like going into space, leaving the atmosphere, which is the roundabout, and going into space.
Sorry, is a Foucault pendulum in space?
No, Nathan.
Right. So this is demonstratable on the ground, then, isn't it? So let's not have any more interjections before I finish giving you. Why is it that you are interrupting when I haven't finished the example? Try to keep your questions to the end, Tommy. This is the 9th time I've explained this. Just let me get through it once. And then if you don't understand, ask then. I'll try and start again, summarise. You are on a roundabout holding a ball and you release the ball. it travels in a straight line. You rotate underneath that ball traveling in a straight line. So the ball is in one reference frame and you are in a second reference frame rotating underneath. Is that clear? I don't mind explaining it again if it's not.
It's absolutely clear.
Okay, so the pendulum, like the ball, swings backwards and forwards in a straight line. Do you understand that, Tommy?
Yeah, clear as day.
Okay, but like the roundabout, because the Earth turns underneath the fixed frame of the pendulum, you see an apparent deflection. In the same way, when on the roundabout, from your vantage point, the ball looks like it's curving. The ball isn't curving, it's an apparent deflection because you rotate underneath. The pendulum exhibits an apparent deflection because the Earth rotates underneath. Do you now understand what Coriolis is and how it is asserted that Earth does have a Coriolis effect?
Yeah, I understood it the first time you said it.
Okay. So if the Earth rotates underneath the pendulum, then the Earth rotates underneath a helicopter or a plane or anything in the same second reference frame as the pendulum, i.e. not attached to the Earth as it rotates underneath.
Oakley, I understand why you would think these two separate situations would have the same, be able to detect the rotation, but they are separate things. The pendulum is attached to a building, the building is attached to the ground, and it's over a very, very subtle and detectable when it's the pendulum going back and forward. The helicopter, however, is a different apparatus, different situation, different scenario, and has different effects that come into play that prevents you from detecting the movement that you would expect to see because the pendulum gives you the example of what you do see. That's my take on it.
I see. So what you're saying is when you fix the pendulum to the reference frame of the Earth, then you will demonstrate Coriolis effect. However, when you completely detach yourself from the second reference frame in a helicopter, then you will not demonstrate Coriolis effect. That sounds a bit back. I hadn't quite finished, Tommy. My bad. That sounds kind of backwards. Because if you consider that Coriolis effect, the one that is absolutely asserted to be taking place on a spinning ball Earth, is the same as demonstrated on the roundabout, then the ball would be more like the helicopter. Unlike a ball swinging back and forth on a rotating roundabout that's attached. So I would argue that the helicopter is a considerably better example to show that we have Coriolis effect. We just don't.
I mean, I can see the logic in that, but there's different things that are coming into play, like the Earth's wind, whereas if you open the door, for example, on this building where the pendulum's swinging, you would have the air would come in and affect the pendulum swinging. Because it's isolated and it's connected to the floor, there's a reason that can, detect that movement, but it's very subtle, that detection, because the ball doesn't just go crazy spinning off 1,000 miles an hour. And so in a helicopter, I wouldn't expect you to go up and travel 1,000 miles an hour as soon as it leaves off the floor. That'd be very unrealistic. So these are as I said, this isn't something that I've got my knee deep into, but off the top of my head, I would not expect the helicopter to experience dramatic Coriolis effects as you are. Sorry,
I've got to interrupt you. What's this word you've added? dramatic Coriolis effect. What the hell are you talking about? There is either, as Arwin has pointed out to you, I think 3 times now, there is either a Coriolis effect or there isn't. There's no slight Coriolis effect. There's no dramatic Coriolis effect. There is either a Coriolis effect or there isn't. So, if you're on the roundabout and you throw the ball up in the air, it's not that it will suddenly suffer a subtle Coriolis effect. You continue to rotate underneath and there is absolutely a Coriolis effect. Simple. It's either a Coriolis effect or it isn't. It's just that simple.
Well, I mean, you keep saying, like, I don't understand what you're saying. I clearly understood it the first time. You're saying, well, if we can detect it here, we should be able to detect it there. I understand that. But
no, that's not what I'm saying. So you don't understand what I've said then. No. You, the fundy globehead, use a pendulum to assert we have Coriolis effect, 2 separate reference frames, but then we don't experience 2 separate reference frames ever. So that would be my assertion that you claim we have one, but we don't.
I'm pretty sure that missiles experience it because of the way that they travel at such high velocities that this Coriolis comes into play. Whereas I don't think that planes and helicopters
let me just clarify that claim, Tommy. So you would say bullets, for example, do experience the Coriolis effect.
From what I've heard, yeah.
Oh, so what you're saying is, like the ball, a bullet releases itself from the chamber of the gun, which is attached to the rotating reference frame. It travels into the second reference frame, and guess what? The Earth rotates underneath. Right, Tommy?
Possible.
It's either it is or it isn't. It's not possible.
Can I get a chance? Can I get a chance to say something? I kind of been outside here for a minute. Okay. What we have here is, if you go in a courtroom, you've always got 2 sides and you have a judge. So what you have here is 2 people proposing their arguments. Now, both sides understands each other's arguments. So at this point, it's kind of one of those things where you kind of just let go, because whenever you go to a courtroom, the prosecutor will never convince the defense of his case, and the defense will never convince the prosecutor of his case. All you can do is both state it. So right now, both sides is stated, and you kind of just have to say, okay, we agree to disagree, and then let the judge decide. The judge is the people that's listening. The people that's listening heard both sides, and they can draw a conclusion.
But I'm not having him constantly say
that is exactly why Nathan needs to come off of this channel and go on to the Non Sequitur show on a neutral channel where there is a moderator there to calm things down, move on to a different topic, and he gets a fair debate against someone else who also gets a fair debate against Nathan.
No, it just doesn't have to be all that, because it was just a fair one just there. Both sides presented their case, so that's that.
But we've been going on for around an hour now, talking, and no one's getting anywhere. They're just saying the same thing over and over and over again.
I'm also getting straw man that I don't understand what he's saying.
You are. I don't know why you're still trying to talk to him.
I do get what he's saying, and I'm not saying that he's wrong, and I can see why he's expecting to see these things, but I think there's other things that are coming into play that prevent that from him seeing what he's expecting to see. One of the worst things to do is expect that you're going to see something, and when you don't, jump to the conclusion that therefore everything must be wrong. That's what I think Nathan's doing.
Right, but
so
Tommy,
how about it, Nathan?
Hold on, just real quick,
Nathan.
Tommy. Hold on, just real quick, Tommy. You've got 3 different things. You've got 3 different items that you have to hold in tension. You just brought up, and I was going to do it, but you brought up a missile or a rifle shot, which travels at high speeds. You're saying that maybe because it travels at such high speeds, it has a different relationship to this Coriolis.
Yeah, there's different things that put into
play. Right. But think about the slow movement of a pendulum that seems to be affected by the Coriolis as well. So which is it?
Well, the slow movement of a pendulum, it's over a long period of time. That pendulum has to move for about an hour, right? So I think a bullet moving at a very high velocity through, and I think certain things that would affect it would be coming out to play because it's a completely different scenario. Now you can't treat a helicopter the same as a pendulum, and I don't think that's a logical thing to do. If people want to say I'm an idiot for that, but I am talking just off the top of my head. This isn't something I've dived into. This isn't something that I've exercised my education on. But I'm pretty sure if I did, I would find stuff that would probably give good explanations. But what Nathan has got, he's studied it for his sake, and I'll take his word for it that these things are contradictions because one minute you do detect a Coriolis, and in other situations you don't. And my only rebuttal to that is probably because it's a different situation. Because I am talking from ignorance, and I'll put my hands up to that. But I'm not going to say that just because this is one example here, which I haven't reviewed myself, because there's other things that Nathan and Arwin are saying that I think are demonstrably wrong anyway. So, not everybody's right because he's already looked into it. We can both look into the same things and we can both come to different conclusions from what we see. Some people are able to see further than what others are. And yet, that's my take on it. Did you hear all that? Did you hear all that, or did I just talk to myself?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay. Well, I determine whether the Earth's moving through other reasons as well. Like I look at the way that the stars behave. These are the things that I do to determine whether the Earth's moving. I don't really.
I like to demonstrate what I'm trying to do because everyone keeps wanting to go back to the pendulum, and that's just the mid 19th century apparatus. We've got a drone. Say the red thing represents the globe Earth model. This little ring is the North Pole, right? Yeah. So in the model of the globe Earth that it's spinning, that's where the Coriolis effect comes from because the Earth is spinning. So if you're at the top in a 24-hour time, see that little tab right there?
Yeah.
In 24 hours, it will do a full 360 degrees, correct? In that globe model of the spinning Earth. Well, now you've got a fixed reference frame up above, which is representing Polaris.
Yeah.
Now you've got a drone above the Earth floating 24 hours. It's got a reference point keeping the Polaris in its sights. In 24 hours recording, we should see this. Correct? We should see it going full 360 degrees. That would prove or provide evidence for that the Earth is spinning. Correct?
I think so. I've had to enter a phone then, but carry on.
So is that a yes?
Yeah, I think that's Polaris is staying stop. What you said something about a drone, and I had to answer the phone. Sorry, what was you said?
We've got Polaris representing this right here.
Yeah.
We got the Earth that's red, the globe sphere model of Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're at the North Pole. Let's do a slight tilt. Right now, the pen top with that little silver part represents just a dummy figure. We want to see it rotate in 24 hours time, 360 degrees. That would prove the Earth spinning. Correct?
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the Coriolis effect. So we can do that demonstration, and if it doesn't spin, what would you think what's the case?
If the dummy didn't spin round.
Yeah. In 24 hours time.
I don't know. I mean, if I saw a mountain in the middle of in the middle of like the North Hemisphere and it didn't spin, I mean, I don't know. It's because I'm spinning with it. It would always appear to be the same size. I'm looking at it.
But we're recording with the drone that's flying overhead.
Oh, but that's
got a fixed point with Polaris.
That's in the atmosphere, right? So it'll be in the atmosphere, and it wouldn't really rotate round the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour. That's the same as a helicopter.
Yes.
All right.
So we would either expect the drone with the fixed point of Polaris to observe on the ground in 24 hours time, either this thing spinning 360 degrees or it's not. It's pretty straightforward. It's either going to do that or not.
Right, can I interrupt just for a second? Eben,
sure.
You've got a really lovely microphone and you're too close to it. Therefore, you're overloading it. On every stream you do, you overload your microphone. So either you need to sit 4 or 5 centimeters further back, or you need to push your mic 4 or 5 centimeters further away from you because you clip the mic.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll
That
be a little
sounds-
bit further
Hey,
back.
Nathan.
Oh, that sounds so much better.
Nathan.
All right, sorry.
Nathan.
Hey, did I get muted?
Did you what?
I said, did I get muted because I was explaining something? The next thing I know, I was muted.
Yeah, there was a troll in that that's been kicked out now that was muting people.
Gotcha.
Could I just say something quick to Nathan? Because I need to jump out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on, Nathan. Let's do this debate with you and Reds. Let's get it on the non sequitur shows. Come on.
Sorry, if Reds wants to...
Sorry,
Oh, sorry, was there more?
I didn't get to answer his question. I think the moment you said,
Can I just ask Nathan this, and then I'm going to jump out quickly.
Well, not if you're going to disappear before I reply.
No, I'm not. I'll listen to your reply for sure.
the moment you said
Come
a
on,
drone,
let's get it on.
the
Go
moment you said
ahead.
a drone, it was just a fool. It was just like a helicopter explanation. So you weren't going to see using a drone. That's my rebuttal.
Okay, I'll nip that in the bud in the moment, but Dan apparently has to get off really quickly. Dan, do you believe we live on a spinning sphere?
Yes, we do.
What evidence do you have to back that assertion?
It's pretty. I'm not here to let you shout at me over me for talking. I want to get this debate on with you and Red's rhetoric.
Sorry, you've managed to come and ask me to debate
Yeah.
Reds. Right, I've never spoken to Reds as far as I'm aware. He doesn't comment on the channel, and I run a debate show with an open link that you have managed to join and question me about whatever you like, correct?
But you're not very fair on here. Come on, let's be honest.
Sorry, I don't care how you feel I run my show. I'm pointing
lot
out
of people
that
feel the same
I was in
way,
the middle
though.
of talking. Is this you being unfair to me? You've asked
No.
your question and now I'm answering you. It's fairly straightforward. If Reds wants to debate me, now let's make it clear on top of that, I don't give two shits whether or not Reds debates me. But if Reds is hell-bent on debating me, in other words, he's keen to debate me, I don't give a shit either way. He can. But your pussy bitch that you follow doesn't want to join and do just that. He wants me to go and fulfill his desire to debate me. Now let me make this absolutely clear while you interrupt me for the third time. That
you're good at interrupting people,
there you go
so
again. You
I'm learning
see,
off the
is this
best.
me being unfair? I was in the middle of a statement answering your very specific question. So, dickhead, now listen. I'm telling you, if Reds wants to debate me, he can. Okay, Muppet?
You're muted, by the way. Sorry.
Don't mute the other panel members.
Yeah, because I was trying to make a point, and it seemed like I don't know where I got cut off because I'm still steady talking. Next thing I know, I'm just talking to myself. That's really annoying.
But that was me.
My bad. People on the panel, don't mute each other.
So if I could just finish that last statement before,
Go
'cause I
ahead,
know
Slick.
you're gonna
Be
round
my
up in a
guest.
few seconds.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that at some point, when both sides make their case in the courtroom, and one side is not willing to budge, and the other side is not willing to budge because they both made their case. At that point, that's when it's time to just back off and say, okay, that's it, and then let the audience decide, because the audience heard exactly what happened, and they can tell when a person is just obfuscating and all that. So they're never going to concede, because if you go into any courtroom, prosecutors and defenses never concede. That's what the judge is for. That's all.
We heard you say that. You didn't get cut off, just FYI.
You've got a very
Yeah,
muffled
somebody
mic,
slapped him out.
Anon. Can
Wasn't
you
me.
say that again? Because you're so muffled, I didn't hear a word of that.
I was just saying he didn't get cut off, so originally we heard him the first time, right? I heard this.
Yeah, we certainly heard you interject at some stage, Slick, but you may have been muted. It was a bit of a mute fest. So, yeah, as much as I appreciate it, Arwen, I can understand what's going on. I'm trying to get a point across and he's interrupting me. This is the fairly typical baller projection that they want to let fly by dragging me away from my own platform, while they very hypocritically interrupt me while I'm pointing out that anybody's welcome to come and join. Hi, Brenda.
A lot of meat today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to
Oh
you
no,
Oh God.
Brenda,
It's
let's
the
not
meat
argue
and
today.
potato show.
let's not argue today, Brenda.
And I'll just state it for the record that the non sequitur is not a neutral platform.
No, you
I just
could
wanna-
you could go to Arwen. I mean, you could go to Sean G's or Jose
You can
Gonzalez.
go to
They'd be neutral.
Fortunately, you won't get to hear that last little back and forth as I'm going to round out for the live audience. But if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. But as I say, if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then this is where we bid you farewell. So a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you for joining us in this live debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you'd like to keep up to date with the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
To Brenda's side and say, whoever is talking with the muffled mic, Nathan already pointed it out, but he's still muffled and it's unintelligible.
Sorry, is it better?
Yes.
Yes, it is. You should go on
Oh,
Sean
thank you.
G's channel, Nathan.
Why?
Well, you don't like what's the other one you didn't want to go on with Reds?
Sorry, why do you think I want to debate Reds when I run a public debate show? Anybody
No.
can debate me if they want to. Do I want to
No,
debate
no.
Reds?
No, they can't.
Nah,
They
I couldn't
can't.
give a shit. Is that clear, Brenda? I don't really care. But he seems
abuse
keen.
and
I'm
you
talking,
abuse your
Brenda.
mods.
I'm talking. I'm in the middle of a sentence. Yeah. If he wants to debate me, he can. And he seems keen to. And he can. Do I want to debate him? I couldn't give a shit either way. So why would I care where he wants to debate me? If he wants to debate me, he can.
No, he can't.
Oh, why is that? Would it be because I don't have an open door in a public debate show? Is that why he can't?
No, that's not why.
No, I know why. Because bitch needs special treatment, doesn't he?
No, because you abuse your mods.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes.
I don't give a shit about his opinion
Yeah.
of my abuse
Yeah.
of whatever he thinks I'm abusing. If he doesn't
Yeah.
want to debate me,
Well, that's
he
why.
doesn't have to. He can piss off, do the other thing, you stupid idiot.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't come on. Because
He doesn't have
you
to.
are
You dumb bitch.
abusive. You're
Are you
abusive.
listening, dumb
And-
bitch? He doesn't have to. He can fuck off and never come back. Or,
You're the one-
if
you're
he
the
wants
whiny
to
little
debate
bitch.
me while you interrupt me again, he can.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't want to, really. Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, he does want to.
Well, he can.
Well, why would he come on with you?
Oh, so he can, but why would he? Well, because he wants
Yes.
to. Or doesn't he want to?
because
Does he
you
want to or
abuse your
doesn't he?
mods.
Because it seems like he says he wants to, but he also wants a load of other shit to fulfill his
No.
desire to debate me.
He wants to be treated fairly, and you
I
don't
don't
do
give
that.
a shit what he wants. Are you deaf?
Oh, that's too fucking bad then, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Too bad, Reds. You need
Too
your
fucking
special
bad for
treatment,
you.
do you?
Too fucking
Oh,
bad for
well.
you.
Then bye-bye. But if you do want to debate me, you can.
To be fair, Red is not fair either. He's not fair. I listened to him with Jaren. I just wanted to throw my remote to the television when I was listening to it. So there is no, by Nathan going there, it's not going to be a fair platform. Sorry.
Well, who
I
would be?
don't care
a
how fair
neutral?
their
Who would
platform
be
is.
neutral? Who would be
I don't
neutral?
care
I could be
about
neutral.
neutrality.
I'd be neutral.
Look,
I don't
could
care
be
about
neutral,
any of this stuff.
and it's pretty easy to be neutral.
I
You
don't
get
care about that.
No,
one
you're
person
not gonna
brings
have
something up,
neutral.
5 minutes. The other person is off channel.
Hi, John.
Then
Hey, sir.
after 5 minutes, the timer could be on air, and then let the other person in with a rebuttal for 5 minutes, and then the other person gets another rebuttal for 2 minutes, and then it switches over. So it's just basically a standard debate format, except instead of people talking over each other, the moderator just switches over it for the time. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about any of that. No offense, Eben.
And I'd have to say, I think Nathan does give people a fair hearing if they make a good point. He does it all the time. So to assume that he doesn't. But if they pretty much don't listen to Nathan, that's when he jumps in and cuts them off.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
say that
you know,
again. I couldn't hear that over the 25 kids in the background.
Not me.
Sorry.
well, thanks for having us, Nathan, and that. I'll be back. Whenever I get a chance, you guys on 2:00 every day. Whenever I get a chance to come on, I'll pop on and have a little
Who
chat
is
with you
that,
guys.
Tommy?
How
Yeah.
about you get
Hold
what
on
was
one
said?
second.
Tommy, before you
I'll-
go, I got a question for
Yeah.
you. Before you
What's
go,
that?
real quick, because you came in
What's
and
that?
you said that the stars spin in different directions as opposed to the north and
Yeah, the
south.
south. Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, okay, let me get this straight. The stars move from east to west in the north and then move from west to the east in the south?
Or either or, yeah. Why?
No, they don't.
Well, I don't. Well, they move in different directions. Like when the further
they
north
don't.
you are, they spin
they
in a
don't.
circle, and the
Sorry.
further
No, they
south you
don't.
go, they spin in the opposite
Tommy.
direction.
Tommy,
This
wake
is
up.
for the audience's benefit. When somebody says something that is
There's no audience.
completely incorrect, there is a good chance that somebody who knows they are incorrect will interrupt them and say, "No, Tommy, no, stop repeating it 5 more times and listen very closely. You
What am I
are
incorrect
wrong."
about?
Yeah, that's, of course, where the unfair Nathan gets interrupted because he's pointing out
because
just
you
how
talk for
wrong
ages,
Tommy
Nathan,
is.
and we
So
just get
it's
to the point, where am I
obviously
wrong?
Tommy's the ignorance cue to interrupt me while I point out
When am
where
I
he's
wrong, Nathan?
This happens quite a lot. I point out that someone's wrong and say, "No,
Where?
that's not science," and
Where
then
am
they
I
tell
wrong,
me
Nathan?
off
Where am
for
I
pointing
wrong?
out how
Tell
wrong they
me.
are. Or they talk
Everywhere.
continually
God, he's
before
so
I get to
immature.
actually point
You're
it
a fully
out.
grown man, and you just can't have a conversation like a normal person. A normal
Okay, I'll try it again,
conversation,
Tommy.
Nathan.
I'll wait for you to finish,
A
then we'll have a
normal
try.
conversation is not that hard to have. How am I wrong about the stars rotating in different directions depending on how far north and south you are?
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
Your question, just so I understand it. How is it that they do change direction when you go from north to south? Is that your question?
Yeah.
They don't.
But they do.
Nathan's correct.
Sorry,
What
do
do
you
you
want to
mean,
repeat
Nathan's
that,
correct?
Brenda, for the dumbass known as Tommy, who just spent the last 3 minutes rumpusing me after having said it to him by both me and John, now you. Maybe you
So
can
in
get
the
through
Northern
too.
Hemisphere, they don't
There he
go
goes
clockwise,
again. Yeah, this isn't me being
'cause you
unfair,
talk
by the
forever,
way.
Nathan.
Audience
You talk-
members who are
Right,
hearing
you don't
Tommy
say that long
interrupt
to
me,
explain
it's
yourself.
just because he's a retard
Oh, whatever.
and doesn't know how wrong he is, but literally cannot shut up long enough for
Explain how I'm
literally
wrong, then. Instead of talking
3
shit for
people
ages.
to say it to him. 3 people so far, Tommy, have said, "You're wrong." They don't.
What did they do then, Nathan? Please
They
enlighten me.
all rise in the east and set in the west.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So what is it with the stars going in like different directions that I'm on
Oh,
about then?
so
please?
literally
moron.
within 20 seconds we have to say it again because he is so stupid he can't listen to 3 people say it 4 times. Listen very closely, Tommy. Do not interrupt me. They do not change direction. They always rise in the east and set in the west. Did you understand this time?
But the stars Polaris rotate in a different way to the ones down the southern ones. The southern star. That's how it rotates. Regardless.
Sorry. Sorry. Do you mean? Sorry, we got confused. Maybe we're wrong, Tommy. I just need to clarify. Maybe we were wrong. You mean about how they change direction as you move from the north to the south? How they go in a different direction? Is that what you mean?
I think it is.
Around Polaris, they go clockwise, and in the southern hemisphere, they go anti-clockwise. That's an observation that anyone can make.
Say it again, Tommy. You are wrong. How slow do
I'm so stupid, Nathan.
Yeah, I am dealing with a quite literal retard.
Yeah. You're the smartest guy in the world.
Repeat after me, Tommy. Repeat after me. All of the stars. Try it. Try it with me. All of the stars. Repeat after me. All of the stars
around the North Pole. Yeah.
No, that's not what I said, Tommy. You are so retarded that you cannot repeat. What is it? 5
you know
words?
What I'm trying to say. You know what I'm on about. You're just being intentionally pedantic and so pathetic. It's ridiculous.
Pedantic. This 2015 argument that you got here is a clown show. What you're saying is that in the north, the sun, moon, and stars move from east to west, and in the south, the sun, moon, and stars move from west to east. You,
what I'm
sir,
saying is,
are a retard.
You can do a time lapse of the stars in the northern hemisphere.
You,
can do a time lapse of the stars.
Retard.
You can do a time lapse of the stars. You can do a time lapse.
Clown show. Clockwise and anti-clockwise are not directions.
Do you believe
a time lapse?
Do you believe NASA?
Do I believe the time lapse that I'm trying to put on? So
no, I'm asking. I'm not talking about the time lapse.
Do you believe NASA? You guys know what I'm trying to say, but you want to twist it and start fucking. Oh yeah, you said this.
Let me. I'm asking a question.
The stars around the north.
Do you believe in NASA?
The stars that
tell you an answer.
No, hold on. I'm
going
to finish what I'm saying. Then I'll address it. Eon, I'll address you after I've addressed it.
Do you believe in NASA?
The stars go one way.
You believe in NASA?
And they go the other way.
You believe in NASA? You believe in NASA? It's yes or no?
Yes or no? Come on with this. You believe in
NASA
NASA stuff over and over again.
Who is that? Do I believe in NASA?
Quite a lot of rumpusing going on, John, so I'll use that as an opportunity to round out the after show and say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. Get it right this time. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Massive thanks to all who've done so already, and of course a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this pre-show and after show possible. If you need something to do after this premiering stream has ended, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!